Hi, this is Nick George with Clouds Diamond Sharpening. Just to show you another video. We're going to show you why we try to be the best sharpeners out there. I got 25 years plus experience, and let's go down to the table and just see why everyone should be using our services today. Most sharpening services, they try to just get your blade sharp. Okay, that sounds wonderful, but anyone can get their blade sharp on a block by simply cleaning off this running surface. It'll cut, maybe for a day or two, and then you'll have to resharpen it on a block, disassemble it and put it together. But why we're in business and what we strive for and why we check every blade is because I want longevity. I want you to send 10, 20 blades and them last 3 to 6 months. And they can if you oil. And some customers don't oil, and that's fine. But you will generally spend more for sharpening because you will have to get your stuff sharpened more. When a piece of dirt gets in one of these blades, they go dull immediately if they don't have oil. But if they have oil, you have a chance of just the dirt beating off with the excess oil. Oil is odorless and clear, so it isn't a big deal to use. You can never use too much, but if you do use too much, well then it will gunk up with the hair, and of course you don't want that. Now you can oil a blade and blow it off, and it's still better than not oiling at all. And I recommend oiling about every head or customer, dog, animal, horse, at least, at bare minimum. Technically, when they get hot, you should set them aside, oil them, and set them on a block and let them cool down. It is not necessary to do that, and you can keep using them while they are hot, but you run the risk of burning your customer. Okay, so what we do in our business, we want these to both have shape, and we want them to be, pretend this cutter blade was cut out in the middle, and then this comb blade was cut out in the middle, and then this tension spring and guide push down and create, so it's like this at the front of the blade, and then when the tension spring pushes down, it goes down. So then it pinches on the side. That's great because that means it'll last longer. Now, if you're on a flat block, you have no pinch and it's just completely flat. And then as it gets dull on the sides, it starts pulling immediately. So if it has shape and then it's pushed down, just imagine, and it was running like this without the thing, well, of course it would suck hair in the middle. So without the spring. So if you have the spring on there, it pushes the middle down, which this side is getting pushed down even harder. So as it goes dull and rubs metal, well, then it starts going, you see how it's separating, and then it starts separating. And then you got a dull blade. So what we do is we want minimal amount of pressure for your clipper's health, and we want your blade to last the longest. With the most ease of movement, because if this is hard to move, your clipper's gonna move it, but it could leave lines, it could do damage to the clipper. I recommend getting your clipper serviced at least every 6 months to get the motor cleaned out. It's good to get rid of that carbon. If they're brushless, they still need to be serviced. Because there is lube around the lever and the post, and you will waller things out, and it will cause play in the front end of the clipper, and it will go bad. And every blade, even if it's sharp, will leave lines. Okay, so let's go through that. How do you know if your blade is dull or your clipper is dull or messed up? Well, that's simple. So if this cuts, okay, and it's leaving little lines, it's probably your clipper, or the tension's too tight, or there's no oil on the blade. Why does that happen? Well, because it can only move it a little bit. See, if it's not going across as many teeth, it's not cutting as much hair, so it's leaving little lines. Now if you pop on a blade and it drags and pulls, it's probably a dull blade. And now if you have a dull blade and a good clipper, it still will pull, so it doesn't matter. You can sharpen these on a block. I wouldn't recommend it because most people damage them by rounding the teeth. First of all, you have to have your hand perfectly still and pushed in the right part of the blade. You don't want it to, your finger be sliding up and down, because that's just causing roundness around the teeth. So I recommend never sharpening on a block. I see a lot of tutorials on YouTube, but they are obviously not professional sharpening blade businesses. And they will not be in business for very long after a customer uses their blade and it doesn't cut but one customer hair. So oiling your blade is important. Getting your clipper serviced is important. If your scissors get a nick in them, let's see, our scissors here. So if we have scissors and they get a nick in them, I recommend stop using them, because as you go past that nick, every time it grows, and then that is more metal you would have to remove off the scissor. We sharpen convex scissors, semi-convex scissors, beveled scissors. We sharpen all scissors. Any scissor you got available that can open up 90% or be taken apart, which have a screw, they can be sharpened. So that being said, we sharpen ceramic blades, which are not metal. They're like a hard, I wouldn't say plastic, but they look like plastic. They're actually more like glass. And we sharpen them. We do not replace them. Sharpening is much better. We sharpen them all. We sharpen 5-in-1 blades, I really generally never replace parts on 5-in-1s besides the plastic platform that people break. But other than that, if you don't break them, they don't need parts replaced. Most sharpeners that you send 5-in-1 blades to, they replace the cutter, which is not as good because the cutter is sharpened on a flat block, which the comb is not. It'll usually be sharpened on a wheel, which gives it a little shape and a little time to cut, but ours will last longer, and I promise. Just give us a try. You don't have to believe this video. I actually just want you to try us, and if it doesn't last the longest, I shouldn't be in business, I don't think, because I really try to pressure that and try to get blades to last the longest, and I test them all to make sure they cut, and 99% of them cut without me even testing them, but I still test them because I don't want you to get any blades back and they don't work. It's just not a good feeling. It feels like you got ripped off and it feels like I got ripped off, so we don't want that. So send your blades on and we'll sharpen them. We sharpen wide blades, all blades that can be disassembled. Trimming blades, horse clipping blades, cattle blades, all animal blades, all barber blades. We sharpen stylist scissors at a great price, and we sharpen